Michael Shikha Niketan Higher Secondary Government Sponsored Co-ed English Medium School has taken an excellent initiative of teaching and make our students learn day-to-day lessons through audio and video in our YouTube channel. Teachers of all the subjects are working hard to enhance these online classes in the midst of this pandemic situation. It is a request to all the teachers, students and guardians to click the bell icon and subscribe our channel.
In the next portion of ammonia, we will see the catalytic oxidation process of ammonia gas, where if we use a little amount of oxygen reacting with ammonia in a normal condition, it will give you water vapor, that is steam, and simple nitrogen gas, colorless, odorless nitrogen gas and water vapor. Okay, but if we use excess amount of air or excess amount of oxygen, as well as in presence of platinum catalyst and at 750 to 900 degrees Celsius temperature, these two will combine to form nitric oxide and water vapor. Actually, in presence of platinum catalyst and at this high temperature, in presence of excess amount of oxygen, nitrogen at first is generated and then it is oxidized to nitric oxide. So, the final product we will get nitric oxide and water vapor. But in the normal condition, in presence of normal amount of oxygen, we will get only the nitrogen gas and water vapor. And here is the process, this is the industrial manufacturing process of ammonia, and in our syllabus we will learn about this process which is known as Haber process of production of ammonia gas. Okay. So, in this process we have to read also the principle, the balanced equation and the collection like the lab preparation of ammonia gas. So, as this is an industrial manufacturer process, so we have to maintain here a lot of things like the pressure, like the temperature, we have to take catalyst, promoter, and also we have to be very careful and very appropriate about the measurement of the reactants. Okay. So, here we have to take nitrogen and hydrogen in their pure and dry condition in 1:3 ratio at the pressure of 200 atmosphere and at the temperature of 550 degrees Celsius. We also have to take the catalyst. We use here iron as catalyst, and we have to take a promoter also. Promoter means which will activate the reaction of catalyst. The activity of catalyst will be further activated by the chemical is known as the promoter. And we have to take here molybdenum as the promoter. We also can use aluminium oxide as the promoter. Okay, and as catalyst we generally use iron. So, basically the principle of Haber process is 1 part of nitrogen gas, pure and dried nitrogen gas, and 3 parts of pure and dried hydrogen gas will be mixed at the temperature of 550 degrees Celsius at 200 atmospheric pressure in presence of iron as catalyst and molybdenum or aluminium oxide as the promoter. Okay, all these things you have to mention in the principle of Haber process. Next, the balanced chemical equation. This is very easy. You have to take just 1 part of nitrogen and 3 part of hydrogen. Both of them will be pure and in dried condition. You will get 2 NH3. Okay, and you also can measure here, mention the temperature value, that is 550 degrees Celsius, 200 atmospheric pressure, and the name of the catalyst and the promoter also. Okay, these slash signs indicates in the medium. Okay, this not indicating the or alternating process. You have to write in this way, catalyst and along with the promoter. Okay, and upper side of the equal sign you can mention the temperature and the pressure also. Okay, this is the balanced chemical equation, and collection is very easy. By the dissolution with water we can collect here ammonia gas. And the last point in the ammonia is we should be very careful while opening the ammonia bottle, because ammonia is very soluble in water, as I mentioned before, and basically in a closed bottle, the vapor, the fumes of ammonia, they used to accumulate just under the cap, just over the bottle, just over the ammonium solution. So first we should cool the bottle, keeping it under tap water or in ice cubes. So first we should keep it under ice cubes for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Then we can open the cap very carefully. Otherwise the ammonia gas will bump over the bottle, and it also can damage our eyes too. Okay, so care should be taken, very much care should be taken while opening the cap of ammonia bottle. Hello students, I am starting a new chapter here, that is 8.4 Inorganic Chemistry in Laboratory and in Industry for class 10. And as I mentioned before, that this chapter is basically informative chapter, and the next portion after ammonia, that is hydrogen sulfide, today I shall start. Okay. So at the beginning of this chapter, here we also have to know the laboratory preparation of this gas, that is hydrogen sulfide. So I have drawn here the laboratory arrangement basically to prepare the gas. You can see this kind of container is known as wolf bottle. Okay, this wolf bottle, the bottle has two opening. Actually, from the one opening we can put dilute H2SO4, and the other opening the producing gas will be removed. Okay, so here we have taken to generate H2S gas, we have taken here ferrous sulfide, that is FeS, and we have to take here dilute acid. We can use HCl, that is hydrogen chloride, or we can use H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid. But we have to take them as dilute condition, not in concentrated form. Okay. So here I have taken dilute acid solution, and if we add this acid to the ferrous sulfide, it will produce H2S, and the generated gas will be passing through a chamber of phosphorus pentoxide, that is P2O5. Okay, and finally the gas will be collected in a gas jar by upward displacement of air. Okay, in case of ammonia I have mentioned downward displacement of air, because ammonia was lighter than air, but as H2S is heavier than air, so we have to use here the upward displacement of air process. Okay. So this is the general preparation procedure in the laboratory of H2S gas. So in the principle there is nothing special to mention, just you can write solid ferrous sulfide. If we add ferrous sulfide to the dilute H2SO4 solution, we can get H2S gas. Okay. Next point is the balanced equation. The equation is also very easy here. Just write FeS and H2SO4 giving rise to H2S and finally FeSO4. Okay. H2S is gaseous in nature. You can give a upward arrow for the gas. You can also give this arrow in the ammonia production also. Okay, and in everywhere I am not writing the balanced chemical equation, but you have to write the balanced equation always in your exam. Okay, the next thing is purification of the gas. The acid vapors basically present in the gas, H2S gas here, as the impurities. So to remove the impure acid vapor, we can use here sodium hydrogen sulfide, that is NaHS. Only NaHS we can use here to purify the gas. We can't use water or we can't use any kind of alkaline mixture. Why we can't use, I will tell you later, but first listen this thing, that only can sodium hydrogen sulfide can be used to purify H2S gas. The next point is drying process. Here as the picture you can see that P2O5 or phosphorus pentoxide we can use. We can't use concentrate H2SO4, we can't use calcium chloride. We can only use P2O5, that is phosphorus pentoxide, to dry H2S gas. And the final thing is collection. You see in this picture that by the upward displacement of air, here actually I have given this arrow to show the air is displacing to for the H2S. Okay, so by the upward displacement of air we can collect H2S gas. These next two questions I have written here, that why not concentrate H2SO4 or CaCl2 are used to dry H2S. As we know that concentrate H2SO4 is a dehydrating agent. Where we have to remove water vapors, we can use concentrate H2SO4. But for this purpose, to dry H2S gas, we can't use concentrate H2SO4. Why we can't use concentrate H2SO4? Because in presence of concentrate H2SO4, it will give sulfur dioxide along with some water vapor. Again I am telling, I have not written the balanced chemical reaction, but you have to write the chemical reaction in balanced way in the exam. Okay, I just have mentioned that in presence of concentrate H2SO4, H2S will give you sulfur dioxide and water. So you can't get the H2S gas finally. So that is why concentrate H2SO4 is not used here. And the next thing is calcium chloride. Calcium chloride cannot be used to dry the gas, because it will give you calcium sulfide, that is CaS and HCl. So here also you can't get H2S gas finally. So because as calcium chloride will give rise to calcium sulfide, we can't use calcium chloride also. The next question is, why not water or alkali used to purify, sorry, I have written not 2 times. Why not water or alkali used to purify H2S gas? Okay, I have mentioned that only for purification purpose we have to use sodium hydrogen sulfide, not water, not alkaline mixture. Why? Because H2S is moderately soluble within water medium. So if you add H2S to the water mixture, it will absorb the gas. So the production will be lesser. So that's why we can't use water. Okay, and why we can't use alkaline mixture? Because H2S is basically acidic in nature. So if we take an acidic gas in an alkaline solution, genuinely it will give rise to salt. So that's why to avoid this situation, we can't use water or we can't use alkaline mixture to purify the gas. Okay, one thing I want to mention here, that apart from the laboratory arrangement, we also can prepare H2S gas by Kipps apparatus. Okay, the apparatus name is Kipps apparatus. Using this apparatus, we can prepare H2S gas, as well as we can prepare hydrogen gas, we can prepare carbon dioxide where heat is not required. In the procedure or in the mechanism where heat is not required, that purposes only we can use Kipps apparatus to produce the gas apart from the laboratory rearrangement. Okay, the name is Kipps apparatus, you will get in your textbook. Okay, the next thing is dissolution of H2S in water. I have told you before that we can't purify the gas using water because H2S is moderately soluble in water. So H2S is moderately soluble in water, giving rise to H plus ion and sulfide ion. Okay, I am telling you repeatedly that I have not written all the reactions in balanced way, but you have to write balanced equation. Basically in water, H2S will dissociate producing H plus ion and sulfide ion. Okay, this is the dissolution of H2S in water medium. Next thing is reaction with silver and lead. If silver is present within H2S medium, it will give you black precipitation of silver sulfide and hydrogen gas. Okay, and if lead is present in H2S medium, it will give you the black precipitation of lead sulfide and hydrogen gas also. For both the reaction is the same. You will get one sulfide, one metal sulfide and the hydrogen gas. So these two reactions can prove that H2S contains hydrogen. Okay, H2S contains hydrogen. You can prove this using any one of these two reactions. Okay, so this is the reaction with silver and lead. Next is reaction with oxygen. If you pass hydrogen sulfide in presence of just enough amount of oxygen, it will give you sulfur and water vapor. Okay, if you give just enough amount of oxygen, then you will get just sulfur and water vapor. But if you give excess amount of oxygen, then you can get sulfur dioxide along with the water vapor. So water vapor is common for both the procedure. If you add small amount of oxygen, you will get water vapor. If you give excess amount of oxygen, you will get water vapor. But in presence of excess air or excess oxygen, the sulfur will be oxidized to sulfur dioxide. Okay, so for that purpose you will get sulfur dioxide, and in presence of just enough amount of oxygen, you will get only sulfur. Okay, this is the difference in between these two reactions. The next thing is reducing property of H2S. In the previous case, that is ammonia was also was a reducing agent, and H2S is also act as the reducing agent here. We can prove this by two reactions. One is, if we take potassium dichromate, that is K2Cr2O7, in acidic medium, we take generally H2SO4, and if we pass this H2S gas over this solution, we will get K2SO4, we will get Cr2SO4 whole 3, we will get water, and we will get sulfur. Okay, if we pass H2S gas over the acidified solution of potassium dichromate, it will give you potassium sulfate, it will give you chromic sulfate, and finally sulfur, precipitation of sulfur along with the water. At the initial, you will take the orange color solution, okay, because potassium dichromate is orange in color. But finally, after the reaction, you will get a green colored solution, because chromic sulfate is green in color, and with the black precipitation of sulfur. Okay, black precipitation of the sulfur. You should mention the color of the medium also. And the next point is, if you take acidified KMnO4 solution, that is potassium permanganate solution, over H2S gas, you will get K2SO4, you will get MnSO4, you will get water and sulfur, just like the previous one. In the reagent, what are the metals are present here? They will form the sulfate individually. In KMnO4 we have potassium, it will give you potassium sulfate. We have Mn, you will get Mn sulfate. Okay, and sulfur you will get obviously along with the water. So KMnO4 is basically violet. Okay, and MnSO4 is colorless. So you will get the black precipitation in a colorless medium. Okay, but in the previous one, that is in the dichromate solution, here you will see the color change from orange to green along with the black precipitation. So this is something difficult to identify, but this is very easy to identify, as here we can see the black precipitation in a colorless medium. Okay, so any of these two reactions you will write to show the reducing property of hydrogen sulfide. The next thing is, dilute HNO3 cannot be used to prepare H2S. Okay, we can use dilute hydrochloric acid, we can use dilute sulfuric acid, but we can't use dilute nitric acid. Why? Because dilute nitric acid is also act as an oxidizing agent, and in presence of nitric acid, the produced H2S, that is what is you will see to generate in the medium, that will react with the HNO3, and both of them will react to form sulfur, nitrogen dioxide and water. That is, HNO3 will give you nitrogen dioxide and sulfur instead of H2S. So, that is why we can't use dilute HNO3. Okay. And the next thing is reaction with chlorine and iodine. If you pass hydrogen sulfide gas over chlorine, you will get sulfur and HCl, and if you pass H2S gas over iodine, then you will get sulfur and HI. Okay. These two reactions show that H2S contain sulfur. In a previous reaction, a reaction with silver and lead, you can see that H2S contains hydrogen, and in these two reactions you can prove that H2S contains sulfur. Okay. If you use chlorine, you will get HCl. If you use iodine, you will get HI. But for both the cases, we will get the common thing, that is sulfur. That is why we can say H2S contains sulfur from these two reactions. In the next portion, there are more about H2S. We will see here more reactions with H2S and another some reagents like hydrogen peroxide H2O2 with sulfur dioxide, that is SO2, with FeCl3, that is perchloride, and copper sulfate, that is CuSO4. In presence of H2O2, H2S will give sulfur and H2O. As we know that H2O2, that is hydrogen peroxide, is a very good oxidizing agent. It will oxidize H2S to form sulfur and water. Okay. If you pass H2S over sulfur dioxide, these two gas will react to form sulfur and water. Okay. In the next reaction, we can see the reaction with ferric chloride. If you pass H2S over the ferric chloride solution, you will get ferrous chloride, that is FeCl2. As I mentioned before, that H2S has reducing property, so it will act like a reducing agent. It will reduce FeCl3, producing FeCl2, that is ferrous chloride, ferric chloride to ferrous chloride, and it will oxidize itself to form sulfur as black precipitation along with HCl. And the last one is H2S with copper sulfate. With copper sulfate, it will form black precipitation of copper sulfide, and it will oxidize itself to H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid. So, I am repeating again, with H2O2 it will produce sulfur and water, with sulfur dioxide it will produce sulfur and water, with ferric chloride it will give ferrous chloride and sulfur and HCl, and with CuSO4 it will give black precipitation of copper sulfide. The next important thing is identification of sulfur or identification of H2S. You can use the same reaction and the same reagent also. To identify sulfur or H2S, basically we use the reagent which is known as sodium nitroprusside, that is Na2FeCN5NO. Okay, the name is sodium nitroprusside. Okay, you can use this. It can be found in the common laboratory reagent. So, this is the chemical by which we can identify sulfur, and in presence of sulfur, sodium nitroprusside gives rise to a deep violet solution. Okay, violet color solution is generated, and the violet color basically formed due to the formation of this compound, that is Na4 FeCN5 NOS. Okay, this sodium nitroprusside, the formula of this compound changed to this one. Okay, this NO becomes NOS in presence of sulfur and Na2 becomes Na4. Only these changes occur, and the color of the mixture becomes violet. So, seeing the violet color, we basically understand that sulfur is present in the medium, or H2S present in the medium. And the last thing of H2S, that is side effect of the gas. In presence of excess amount of H2S, or if anyone exposed in presence of excess amount of H2S, then vomiting or headache, like this kind of problems he or she can face. So this is all about H2S.
Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment. Subscribe. And do share the video among your friends.